guys, welcome back to Real Talk Cinema. Today we're diving deep into Shadow Force 2025, an intense action thriller led by Kerry Washington and Omar Sy. Directed by Carnahan, this film blends raw emotion, high stakes covert warfare, and the haunting consequences of betrayal. But what truly drives Shadow Force isn't just the explosions, it's the story beneath the gunfire. So buckle up as we unravel 20 long, deep storytelling points that bring the heart, grit, and chaos of this action packed journey to life. In Shadow Force 2025, the very foundation of Isaac and Kira's existence is forged in darkness, not the kind that comes with the setting sun, but the shadow of secrecy, lies, and moral compromise. A Life in the Shadows isn't just a clever title for their backstory. It's a metaphor for the existence they've endured for years, unseen, unknown, and unacknowledged. They weren't born into this life, they were shaped by it, recruited young into a covert special operations unit that officially doesn't exist. They were trained not just to fight, but to disappear. Their names were erased, their fingerprints removed, their lives rewritten in service of a cause that over time became unclear. This life demanded not just sacrifice, but self-erasure. In one early flashback, we see Kira burning childhood photographs and burying her birth certificate under a tree in a nameless jungle. The act is quiet but chilling, a rite of passage into a world where your only identity is the mission. Isaac's transformation is no less harrowing. He's shown holding a wedding ring, not hers, left behind after a civilian casualty, a symbol of the collateral damage this life brings. The camera lingers on his face just long enough to catch the moment where his humanity flickers and fades. Living in the shadows doesn't just mean staying off-grid, it means living without light. No birthdays, no family, no trace of yourself anywhere. It's a void where identity is as expendable as ammunition. But what makes this film so emotionally potent is how it shows the psychological toll of such a life. The mission isn't the hardest part, it's the emptiness that follows. Even in their retirement, Kira and Isaac carry their shadows with them. The way they check every mirror for tails, the way their eyes linger too long on exits, the way they sleep with one eye open, even while lying next to each other. They're haunted not by ghosts, but by choices. And yet, despite the weight of their past, they find one anchor in this storm, their son. He becomes the light that forces them to confront the darkness they've accepted as normal. For the first time, they are not only trying to survive, they are trying to live. Not in the shadows, not as soldiers, but as parents, as humans, as themselves. But light doesn't come without danger in their world. The moment they try to step into the sun, the very institution they once served sees them as a threat. That's the ultimate tragedy of a life in the shadows. The system that trained them to disappear now wants them gone forever. Their struggle isn't just against the agency, it's against the ideology that says a life in the shadows is the only life they deserve. And that's what makes Shadow Force resonate. Beneath the explosions and the espionage is a story about people clawing their way out of darkness, desperate to prove they are more than the ghosts they were trained to become. In the brutal, code-driven world of Shadow Force, love is not only rare, it's dangerous. A forbidden love between Kira and Isaac blooms not in candlelight, but in the flicker of gunfire, during late-night stakeouts and whispered conversations over encrypted channels. Their romance is less a fairy tale and more a rebellion, a quiet mutiny against a system that forbids vulnerability and demands complete emotional detachment. As elite operatives in a covert unit, they were taught that attachments are liabilities. Relationships make you predictable, emotions make you weak, and above all, love gets people killed. In that kind of world, falling for someone isn't just unprofessional, it's suicidal. But love, as Shadow Force shows us, doesn't care about rules. It happens in stolen glances while tracking targets through broken cities. It grows in shared silence during night-long missions, in the soft moments between debriefings and deployments. Kira and Isaac's love isn't loud, it's survival. It's the desperate human instinct to cling to something real when everything else around you is synthetic. They don't confess their feelings with words, they do it through actions. A last second cover fire, a shoulder offered during a breakdown, a hand grasped in the dark, just tight enough to say, I'm still here. The world around them tries to bury this love. Their handlers separate them. Their missions push them into opposing moral corners. Rumors spread, and in the underground culture of their unit, a relationship is seen as betrayal. Their very connection becomes a liability, a secret that could cost them not just their lives, but each other. Yet, it's this forbidden bond that ultimately gives them strength. When they defect from the agency, it's not an act of cowardice, it's the ultimate declaration of love. They leave behind the only life they've ever known, not just to protect their son, but to protect the fragile truth that their relationship represents, that even in the most inhuman of environments, humanity can still survive. In a pivotal scene, we see the two of them on the run, holed up in a safe house. Kira tends to Isaac's wounds, but there's no dramatic music, just her shaky hands and his heavy breathing. They don't say, I love you. Instead, she whispers, I can't lose you too. That's the language of their love, quiet, broken, but fierce. Their forbidden love is never painted as a fairy tale escape. It's a war, a constant battle between instinct and duty, between the world they came from and the one they're trying to build. And that tension pulses through every decision they make. Even as the agency hunts them, even as former allies turn into assassins, they hold on to each other not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. They don't just want freedom. They want a life together, one where love isn't a liability, but the very reason to fight. By the time the credits roll, a forbidden love isn't just a subplot, it's the spine of Shadow Force. It's the emotional arc that gives weight to every bullet fired, every life lost, every escape made. It's the film's beating heart, quiet, wounded, and impossibly strong. In Shadow Force 2025, the emotional core of the story isn't just about survival or betrayal, it's about parenthood in the eye of the storm. A son in the crossfire transforms the action from explosive spectacle to a deeply personal war, one that's fought not just with bullets, but with the unbearable weight of protecting innocence in a world built on blood. Kyra and Isaac's son is more than a plot device. He is their turning point, their second chance, and their ultimate fear. Born into the silence of secret lives, raised in shadows they hoped would keep him safe, he becomes the mirror that reflects everything they've tried to forget. Their past missions, their betrayals, the lives they've taken, none of it matters more than this one fragile life they now hold in their arms. The film shows us early that he's not just caught in a physical crossfire, he's emotionally entangled in a war he doesn't understand. In one haunting moment, we see him watching through a crack in the door as his parents arm themselves calm, practiced, deadly. It's a chilling image, a child learning, too early, what fear looks like when worn by those who love him. Unlike many action films where children are symbols of innocence or bargaining chips, Shadow Force gives their son depth. He's not just afraid, he's confused, angry, and desperate for truth. His questions pierce deeper than any interrogation. Why are we running? What did you do? Will they hurt us? These aren't just the words of a scared child. They're the voice of accountability, forcing Isaac and Kira to reckon with the lives they've lived. Kira, once a hardened tactician, is seen trying to read bedtime stories with trembling hands, her voice catching as her son flinches at every distant gunshot. Isaac, a once unshakable operative, now finds himself hesitating before pulling a trigger, not because he's lost his skill, but because every kill threatens the father he's trying to become. The crossfire becomes more than physical, it's ideological. Their son is being shaped not just by what he sees, but by what they choose to hide or reveal. Do they tell him the truth? Do they raise him to fight like them or teach him to walk a different path? As the film builds toward its climax, the son becomes the emotional barometer of the story. When he's captured not out of malice, but because the agency sees him as leverage, we see Kira and Isaac unravel. Not because they're weak, but because love makes them vulnerable, and that vulnerability in this world is deadly. In the final act, there's a moment where the son, scared and crying, asks Isaac, "Are you the good guys?" And Isaac, bloodied and broken, can't answer. That silence says everything, because the truth is, they don't know, and neither does he. That's what makes it so devastating. A sun in the crossfire doesn't just fuel the plot, it elevates the stakes to something profoundly human. It forces us to ask, can love undo the damage of violence? Can two people built to kill raise someone to live? By the end of Shadow Force, we understand the sun isn't just someone they need to protect. He's the reason they want to be better. He's their future, and he deserves a life outside the crossfire. Whether they can give him that is the film's most heartbreaking question. In the silent corridors of Shadow Force 2025, there exists a myth, a name whispered like a curse among operatives who know better than to speak too loud. That myth is Isaac, codenamed Ghost, dead to the world, buried by the agency, erased from all files. But myths don't die, they wait. And when Isaac returns, it's not as a man, but as a reckoning. The return of the ghost is more than the reemergence of a character. It's the haunting resurgence of everything the agency tried to forget, to destroy, and to deny. Isaac, once the agency's most lethal weapon, vanished without a trace when he chose love over loyalty. For years, he lived off-grid, faceless, invisible, surviving in the margins of the world he once shaped through violence. But ghosts, by nature, do not rest. When the agency threatens his family, the part of him he had tried to bury, the ghost, rises, and with it comes a tidal wave of unfinished business. The camera first reveals his return through shadows, not with fanfare, but with dread. Former allies go silent at the mention of his name. Young agents are told stories about him like folklore. If you see the ghost, you're already dead. His reappearance is not about revenge, it's about unfinished justice. About calling to account the puppeteers behind the agency, those who weaponized him, then discarded him. He becomes an echo of their sins, a reminder that ghosts return for a reason. What makes this return truly terrifying isn't just Isaac's skill, it's his clarity. He's no longer the blindly loyal asset they once controlled. He's a father now, a man who has something to lose, and that makes him unpredictable and unstoppable. The action sequences built around the return of the ghost aren't just thrilling, they're poetic. Silent takedowns, reactivated safe houses, messages carved into walls. The ghost doesn't return to make noise. He returns to make fear. Each move he makes is a signature of the man the agency thought they'd erased. Each strike is a memory resurfacing. And yet, the most chilling part isn't what Isaac does to his enemies, it's what he sees in himself. There's a moment when he looks into a shattered mirror, blood on his face, eyes hollow, and says, "I swore I buried this part of me." And Kira responds, "You didn't. You just taught him how to sleep." That's the tragedy of the ghost. He never truly died. He was dormant, waiting, watching, and now, with his family under threat, he isn't back to play by the rules. He's back to end the game entirely. By the end of the film, the ghost becomes more than just Isaac. It's an idea, a warning, a reminder to those in power. The past cannot be buried, it returns, and when it does, it doesn't knock. It breaks the door down. In Shadow Force, the phrase, "a family reunited by fire," carries a weight far beyond its literal meaning. Fire here symbolizes destruction, chaos, and trial, but also purification, rebirth, and unbreakable bonds forged in adversity. After years of separation, secrecy, and survival on opposite fronts, Kira, Isaac, and their son find themselves brought back together, not by choice, but by a blaze of violence that threatens to consume everything they hold dear. Their reunion is far from peaceful. It is born in the crucible of desperation, a fiery battleground where trust has to be rebuilt amid gunfire and shattered loyalties. The film beautifully contrasts the brutal external conflict with the raw emotional landscape inside. As the flames lick the edges of their refuge, so too do years of pain, regret, and unspoken fears rise between them. Each character carries scars, some visible, some hidden deep within. Kira's hesitation when she sees Isaac again is more than tactical caution. It's the echo of years spent wondering if the man she loved was truly gone or simply lost. Isaac's guilt over leaving and the burden of being the ghost weigh heavily as he steps back into the family unit. Their son, caught between two worlds, stands uncertain, a living testament to the fractured past they now must face together. The fire also acts as a harsh light, exposing their vulnerabilities and forcing confrontations long overdue. In a pivotal scene, as smoke fills the room, Kira breaks down, confessing her fears that their son's future is doomed to be a shadow of their own. Isaac responds not with words, but with a fierce embrace, a silent vow that no matter how dark their past, they will fight to build a future together. This reunion is not just about survival, it's about reclaiming identity, both individual and collective. The fire purges the lies and betrayal, burning away the walls they built around themselves. In its heat, they find clarity that family is not just blood or duty, but the unyielding will to protect, forgive, and rebuild. By the climax, a family reunited by fire becomes a symbol of hope amid destruction. The very flames that threaten to tear them apart become the forge where their renewed bond is tempered, stronger, and more resilient than before. In a world defined by shadows and secrets, this family's reunion proves that even through the fiercest fires, love can endure and sometimes be reborn. In Shadow Force, the road to nowhere is more than a physical journey. It's a profound metaphor for the uncertain path Isaac and Kira tread as they attempt to escape a past that relentlessly pursues them. This road is fraught with ambiguity, danger, and the crushing weight of choices that offer no clear destination or redemption. From the moment they flee, every step forward feels like moving deeper into a labyrinth with no exit. The film captures this with a haunting visual motif: endless highways stretching into fog, desolate landscapes devoid of landmarks, and crossroads that only lead to more questions. This road isn't paved with hope, it's riddled with doubt, distrust, and the ghosts of their former lives. Their son's presence complicates the journey, as each mile traveled weighs heavier with the responsibility of shielding innocence in a world that doesn't forgive. Along the way, Isaac and Kira grapple with the meaning of freedom. Is freedom simply running from danger, or is it finding peace within themselves? The answer remains elusive. As they move through towns and safe houses, the road to nowhere becomes a psychological odyssey. It forces them to confront who they have become, the assassins, the fugitives, the parents, and who they want to be. The road strips away illusions and exposes raw truths: the cost of their past actions, the fragility of their present, and the uncertainty of any future. Moments of fleeting calm offer no relief. Instead, they emphasize the endless tension. Every silence is heavy with suspicion. Every night spent awake is haunted by what lies ahead. The road tests their resolve and their bond, showing that sometimes the hardest journeys are those with no destination at all. Ultimately, the road to nowhere embodies the film's darkest reality. In a world where the past never lets go, running might only lead deeper into the unknown. It's a poignant reflection on the human condition, a reminder that sometimes the path we choose is less about where we're going and more about who we become along the way. In Shadow Force 2025, the theme of old friends, new enemies is a piercing exploration of betrayal, fractured loyalties, and the painful transformation of relationships once rooted in trust and camaraderie into battlegrounds of suspicion and violence. This theme is not just a plot device, it's a psychological and emotional crucible that tests the character's very sense of identity, trust, and survival in a world where alliances shift like sand. Isaac and Kira, once part of an elite agency where brotherhood was their lifeline, are forced to confront the devastating truth that those they once fought alongside may now be their deadliest adversaries. The agency, cloaked in shadowy politics and hidden agendas, has corrupted the sacred bonds of friendship into fragile alliances, easily broken by orders, fear, or ambition. This rupture cuts deeper than physical wounds. It tears at the very fabric of their past, casting doubt on every shared memory. The film masterfully portrays this with haunting encounters where Isaac faces Marcus, his former closest comrade, a man who saved his life countless times but now hunts him with cold efficiency. Their clashes are heavy with unspoken history, flashes of trust and brotherhood, clashing violently with the bitter reality of betrayal. Every fight is more than a physical duel. It is a confrontation between past loyalty and present enmity, between who they were and who they have become. Similarly, Kira's encounter with an old ally turned enemy resonates with heartbreak and complexity. Their shared moments of vulnerability and trust are juxtaposed against the harshness of their new roles on opposite sides. The emotional turmoil here isn't just about survival, it's about mourning the death of a relationship that once felt unbreakable. Scenes showing stolen glances, hesitations before raising weapons, and whispered names evoke a sense of tragic loss that lingers beyond the battlefield. The narrative deepens as the film explores the gray areas between friend and foe. Some characters wrestle with divided loyalties, caught between duty to the agency and remnants of personal bonds. This moral ambiguity enriches the story, reflecting real-world complexities where black and white distinctions rarely apply. Friendships become bargaining chips, and enemies sometimes hold the last thread of humanity left in the fractured world. As the tension escalates, the betrayals force Isaac and Kira to redefine their understanding of trust and loyalty. They learn that survival demands not just skill and strength, but the painful ability to accept loss of comrades, of innocence, and of the past itself. The film's climax brings these themes to a brutal head, with emotional confrontations that challenge their resolve and force them to confront the ghosts of their former selves. Old Friends, New Enemies in Shadow Force is a devastating meditation on how war and espionage corrode relationships, turning brothers into strangers and allies into adversaries. It exposes the raw human cost of betrayal, the loneliness, the doubt, and the heartbreak, making it one of the film's most compelling and emotionally resonant threads. Through this theme, the film asks a haunting question. When those closest to you become your enemies, how do you hold on to who you are? In Shadow Force 2025, the tactical showdowns are more than just adrenaline-pumping action sequences. They are the very battlegrounds where strategy, psychology, and raw human will collide in a deadly chess game. These moments are meticulously crafted, revealing not just physical skill, but the sharp intellect and emotional stakes that govern every move made by Isaac, Kira, and their adversaries. Each showdown is a masterclass in tension, combining the precision of military tactics with the unpredictability of human emotion. The film immerses viewers in claustrophobic settings, abandoned warehouses, rain-soaked rooftops, labyrinthine alleyways where every shadow could conceal a bullet and every decision could mean life or death. The environments themselves become characters, shaping the flow of combat and forcing fighters to adapt on the fly, blending stealth, brute force, and improvisation. What sets these tactical battles apart is the intense mental warfare underlying them. Isaac and Kira are not just fighters, they are strategists, anticipating their enemies' moves several steps ahead. The audience is pulled into their mindset, the rapid calculations, the weighing of risks, and the sacrifices made in silence. These sequences reveal the toll of living a life where split-second decisions carry irreversible consequences. The showdowns also serve as crucibles for character development. For Isaac, each confrontation peels back layers of his haunted past and the burden of his ghost identity. His movements are precise, almost mechanical, yet haunted by flashes of doubt and flashes of vulnerability. Kira's combat style contrasts with Isaac's cold efficiency. Her fights blend fierce determination with maternal instinct, especially when their son's safety is on the line. Tactical showdowns also underscore the theme of trust and betrayal. Allies can turn foes in a heartbeat, and every engagement is fraught with paranoia. The choreography of these scenes reflects this fragile trust. Partners watch each other's backs warily, aware that a single mistake or a hidden enemy could spell disaster. Moreover, the showdowns are rich with symbolism. The calculated precision of the combat mirrors the character's internal struggles. The balance between control and chaos, the fight for survival amid overwhelming odds, and the constant tension between past demons and present realities. Every gunshot and silent takedown echoes with the weight of their histories and the stakes of their futures. The culmination of these tactical encounters isn't just the defeat of an enemy, but the hard-earned resilience and evolving bond between Isaac and Kira. As they navigate ambushes, traps, and fierce firefights, their teamwork grows sharper, their trust more profound, and their resolve unbreakable. In Shadow Force, tactical showdowns are not mere spectacles of violence. They are layered narratives of survival, intellect, and emotion, where every movement tells a story and every victory carries the price of sacrifice. They embody the harsh reality of a world where skill alone is never enough, and where the mind is the deadliest weapon of all. In Shadow Force 2025, The Sun's Awakening is a profound turning point, not just in the narrative arc, but in the emotional heartbeat of the entire story. The Sun, a young boy caught between innocence and inherited danger, embodies the fragile hope amid chaos, a symbol of the future weighed down by the legacy of his parents' violent past. From the earliest scenes, he is portrayed as a child navigating confusion and fear, shielded by Kira and Isaac, but inevitably exposed to their shadowed lives. His awakening is both literal and metaphorical. It begins with small moments, observing the tension in his parents' eyes, sensing the unspoken threats lurking in every whisper, and the creeping realization that his world is far from ordinary. The son's journey is deeply layered. It is a coming-of-age tale intertwined with survival, where childhood innocence collides with harsh realities. Unlike typical action heroes, his awakening is not about physical prowess but about emotional resilience, courage, and the gradual understanding of the complex moral landscape around him. Throughout the film, this awakening unfolds in subtle yet powerful ways. Quiet scenes reveal his growing curiosity and the questions he dares not voice. Why must they hide? Why does his father disappear for long stretches? Why does danger always follow them? These moments build tension, illuminating the psychological impact of a childhood shaped by secrecy and fear. As the story progresses, the son begins to grasp his own role in this fractured family dynamic. His awakening challenges both Isaac and Kira. They must reconcile their desire to protect him with the inevitability that he cannot remain a bystander forever. The child's emerging awareness forces the parents to confront painful truths. Can they prepare him for a world that has no mercy? Can love shield him from the darkness, or will it only make him more vulnerable? This theme culminates in scenes charged with emotional intensity. A confrontation where the son steps out from the shadows, asserting his own strength and determination to fight, not just survive. His awakening becomes a catalyst for transformation within the family, binding them in a renewed, fragile unity, forged by mutual understanding and sacrifice. The son's awakening also serves as a mirror to the audience, reflecting the universal struggle of growing up amid adversity and the painful passage from innocence to experience. It highlights the heavy cost of legacy and the hope that even in the darkest shadows, a new generation can rise stronger, wiser, and unyielding. In Shadow Force, this awakening is not just a plot point, it's the emotional core that drives the story forward. A reminder that amidst violence and betrayal, the spark of hope lives on in the eyes of the child who dares to awaken. In Shadow Force 2025, the shadow philosophy is the invisible thread weaving through every action, every decision, and every silence, the haunting ethos that defines the lives of Isaac, Kira, and those who operate in the murky world between light and darkness. It is not just a code or doctrine, but a deeply existential worldview shaped by years of betrayal, survival, and the understanding that in their reality, shadows are both refuge and prison. This philosophy is born from necessity, a survival mindset forged in the darkest corners of espionage and warfare. It teaches that the world is not divided into heroes and villains, but is instead a spectrum, where morality is fluid and truth is buried beneath layers of deception. Trust is a rare currency, and power lies in mastering the art of invisibility, of moving unseen, unheard, and unknown. Isaac, known as the Ghost, embodies this philosophy in every calculated move. His existence is a paradox, a man who must disappear into shadows to protect those he loves, yet whose presence casts a long, haunting silhouette on everything around him. His philosophy is one of detachment to survive. One must let go of attachments, bury emotions deep, and embrace the loneliness that comes with living on the edge of light. Kira, however, offers a counterpoint. While she respects the necessity of shadows, her philosophy is more humanistic, a belief that shadows must not consume identity or love. For her, the shadow is a battlefield where hope can still flicker, where family and loyalty carve out spaces of light in an otherwise unforgiving world. Their contrasting philosophies create tension but also depth, showing the fragile balance between cold pragmatism and the stubborn refusal to surrender one's humanity. The shadow philosophy permeates their interactions with enemies and allies alike. It demands constant vigilance, the acceptance that betrayal can come from any direction, and that every alliance is temporary. It forces them to become masters of disguise, not only in the physical sense, but emotionally, masking true feelings beneath layers of calculated expressions and guarded glances. This worldview also delves into the paradox of identity. Who are they beneath the masks of spies and fugitives? The philosophy asks, is survival worth the cost of losing oneself? Can one maintain a soul when living in perpetual darkness? These questions haunt Isaac and Kira, making their journey not just about escaping enemies, but about reclaiming fractured selves. Moments of quiet introspection punctuate the film, where the characters reflect on their philosophy in whispered monologues, fleeting flashbacks, and intense confrontations. These moments reveal that the shadow is not just external danger, but an internal struggle, a daily battle between hope and despair, connection and isolation. By the climax, the shadow philosophy becomes a pivotal theme, a lens through which the audience understands the characters' motivations and sacrifices. It elevates Shadow Force from a mere action thriller to a meditation on the human condition, exploring how darkness shapes us, defines us, and sometimes, paradoxically, frees us. In Shadow Force, the shadow is not merely absence of light, but a complex symbol of survival, loss, and the enduring quest for meaning in a fractured world. The shadow philosophy is a haunting reminder. In the depths of darkness, the soul's true fight begins. In Shadow Force, 2025, the psychological fallout is an unflinching exploration of the mental and emotional scars left in the wake of relentless violence, betrayal, and loss. Beneath the pulse-pounding action and high-stakes espionage lies a deeply human story about how trauma reverberates through the minds and hearts of those caught in the crossfire, especially Isaac and Kira, whose psyches bear the weight of their harrowing pasts. The film delves into this fallout with raw honesty, portraying the complex and often invisible aftermath of living a life steeped in danger. Isaac's haunted eyes and restless nights reveal a man grappling with the ghosts of missions gone wrong, the faces of friends lost, and the crushing burden of guilt. His internal battles are not just with external enemies, but with his own memories, vivid flashbacks of violence, whispers of mistakes, and the unbearable question of what it truly means to survive when others do not. Kira's psychological journey is equally wrenching. The film captures her struggle to reconcile her fierce protector role with the creeping erosion of hope and sanity. She carries not only the trauma of her own experiences, but the additional torment of trying to shield their son from a brutal world. Her moments of vulnerability, sleepless nights, tremors of fear, and bursts of anger expose the toll of living under constant threat and the fragile edge between resilience and collapse. The psychological fallout extends beyond individual trauma into their fractured relationship. The cracks in Isaac and Kira's trust and communication reflect the difficulty of connecting when both are trapped in isolation within their minds. Scenes of silence, Terse exchanges and fleeting tenderness poignantly illustrate how trauma can isolate even those who love each other most deeply. The film also explores the ripple effects of trauma on identity and purpose. Both characters wrestle with questions of who they have become. Are they still the people they once were? Or are they irrevocably changed by the violence and loss? This internal conflict drives much of their emotional turmoil and fuels moments of despair and defiance. Supporting characters further illuminate the psychological fallout. Former allies who have succumbed to bitterness, paranoia, or self destruction serve as grim mirrors and cautionary tales of what can happen when trauma remains unaddressed. These portrayals add layers of realism and gravity, highlighting that the true wounds of war are not only physical but deeply mental. The film's use of visual and auditory elements, fragmented memories, haunting music, and stark lighting contrasts immerses the audience in the fractured mental landscapes of its protagonists. These artistic choices evoke empathy and understanding, transforming Shadow Force into not only a thriller but a profound study of psychological survival. Ultimately, the psychological fallout is a testament to the resilience and fragility of the human mind. It asks difficult questions about healing, forgiveness, and whether it is possible to reclaim one's soul after being broken by the darkness. Through Isaac and Kira's journeys, the film offers a raw, unvarnished look at the silent wars waged within, reminding us that sometimes the hardest battles are fought far from the battlefield. In Shadow Force 2025, the betrayal within cuts through the narrative like a sharp, cold blade, exposing the devastating fracture that occurs when trust, once sacred and unshakable, is shattered from the inside. This theme is not just about enemies lurking outside, but the more harrowing reality that the greatest threats come from those once considered family, comrades, or allies. It's a psychological and emotional maelstrom that drives the story's tension and heartbreak to its core. At its heart, the betrayal is deeply personal. Isaac and Kira, hardened by years of fighting together, find themselves blindsided by acts of treachery from those they trusted most. The agency that once symbolized safety and shared purpose is revealed to harbor hidden agendas, double agents, and ruthless power plays. This betrayal strikes at the very foundation of their world, unraveling their sense of belonging and forcing them to question every bond. The film carefully builds this tension through layered storytelling. Small doubts and subtle slips grow into full-blown revelations that rip through the characters' hearts. The shock of betrayal is made visceral through moments of stark confrontation, whispered secrets overheard, coded messages decoded, and unexpected faces emerging from the shadows as enemies in disguise. The audience feels the crushing weight of these discoveries, not just as plot twists, but as emotional blows that leave lasting scars. Isaac's response to betrayal is complex and deeply human. His stoic exterior masks a turbulent inner world of anger, hurt, and conflicted loyalty. He grapples with the pain of realizing that some battles cannot be fought with guns or fists, but with forgiveness, something elusive in his fractured existence. Kira's reaction adds further dimension as she battles between pragmatic suspicion and the desperate hope that not all ties are irreparably broken. The betrayal within also explores how betrayal infects relationships, breeding paranoia and isolation. Trust becomes a fragile commodity, with every handshake and every whispered promise tinged by the fear of deception. The once unbreakable bond between Isaac and Kira is tested as they struggle to discern friend from foe while holding on to the last remnants of their partnership. Moreover, the theme highlights the moral ambiguity of espionage and war, where lines between right and wrong blur, and survival often demands choosing between loyalty and self-preservation. Characters forced into impossible choices reveal the devastating consequences of betrayal, not just on themselves, but on the fragile network of alliances that underpin their lives. In its darkest moments, the betrayal within confronts the existential question: can one rebuild after the foundation has crumbled? The film doesn't offer easy answers, but instead presents a raw, unvarnished look at the pain and complexity of rebuilding trust and identity in the aftermath of treachery. Ultimately, this theme is the emotional fulcrum of Shadow Force, making the story more than an action thriller. It's a profound meditation on the wounds inflicted by those closest to us, the resilience required to survive those wounds, and the haunting truth that sometimes the deepest betrayals come from within. In Shadow Force 2025, the ambush is more than just a high octane action sequence. It's a pivotal narrative moment that encapsulates the brutal unpredictability of the shadow world Isaac and Kira inhabit. This scene unfolds with harrowing intensity, serving as a stark reminder that in their line of work, even the most carefully laid plans can unravel in an instant, forcing a relentless fight for survival. The ambush is meticulously orchestrated by enemies who have studied Isaac and Kira's every move, exploiting their vulnerabilities and forcing them into a deadly trap. It's a test of their reflexes, instincts, and unbreakable will. What makes this ambush so gripping is not only the physical danger, but the psychological warfare embedded within it. The crushing realization that they have been outmaneuvered, betrayed, and are fighting against overwhelming odds. The atmosphere during the ambush is thick with tension and dread. Shadows lengthen, the environment feels claustrophobic, and every sound, the rustle of leaves, the click of a weapon, echoes like a death sentence. The audience is plunged into the chaos alongside the characters, experiencing their fear, adrenaline, and desperate determination as they scramble to regain control. This moment also exposes the raw emotional stakes. Isaac and Kira's protective instincts surge, especially as they scramble to shield their son from harm. The ambush lays bare their vulnerabilities, forcing them to rely on each other's strengths more than ever before. Their partnership, tested through fire, reveals cracks but also unyielding loyalty, a dance of trust amid chaos. The ambush is a crucible for character evolution. It strips away any illusions of safety and forces Isaac and Kira to confront the harsh truth that survival demands constant vigilance and sacrifice. The aftermath leaves them battered physically and emotionally, their resolve hardened but their scars deepened. Symbolically, the ambush represents the unpredictability of life in the shadows, where danger lurks unseen and control is an illusion. It challenges the character's sense of agency, reminding them that sometimes survival means adapting on the fly, embracing chaos, and finding strength in vulnerability. In Shadow Force, the ambush is not just a moment of action, but a profound narrative turning point, a violent awakening to the realities of their world, a test of resilience, and a catalyst that propels the story into its most intense and transformative phases. In Shadow Force 2025, the City of Secrets is more than just a backdrop. It is a living, breathing character that shapes the narrative's mood, themes, and the very fate of Isaac, Kira, and their son. This city is an intricate labyrinth of shadows, whispered alliances, and hidden dangers, where every street and alleyway holds layers of mystery, betrayal, and unspoken truths. The city pulses with duality. By day, it appears ordinary, bustling markets, crowded cafes, and the hum of everyday life. But by night, it transforms into a dangerous web of espionage and deception where invisible power brokers pull strings, and secrets are the most valuable currency. This constant tension between appearance and reality mirrors the internal struggles of the characters, who themselves live double lives, balancing the veneer of normalcy with the brutal demands of their hidden world. Each corner of the city reveals a piece of the puzzle: clandestine meetings in shadowed courtyards, coded messages hidden in graffiti, and underground tunnels that snake beneath the streets like the veins of this enigmatic organism. The city's architecture, a mix of ancient stone and modern glass, symbolizes the clash of old loyalties and new betrayals, history and progress, light and shadow. Isaac's navigation through the city is a metaphor for his internal journey. Every step he takes is fraught with peril and discovery. The city's secrets test his skills, instincts, and resolve, forcing him to confront the ghosts of his past lurking in forgotten corners. For Kira, the city represents both a battleground and a refuge, a place where she must fight to protect their family while wrestling with the isolation and fear the urban maze imposes. The city also acts as a crucible for alliances and conflicts. Friends become foes, and enemies masquerade as allies, reflecting the unpredictable and perilous nature of the world they inhabit. The labyrinthine streets echo with whispered betrayals, and the city's underbelly is home to shadowy figures who hold keys to the truth and survival. The City of Secrets deepens the film's themes of trust, identity, and survival. It's a place where nothing is as it seems, where the past is never truly buried, and where every secret uncovered brings both danger and revelation. The city's oppressive atmosphere amplifies the characters' psychological struggles, making the urban landscape an extension of their inner turmoil. In Shadow Force, the city is a haunting reminder that in a world built on lies and deception, the greatest secret may be the one you carry within yourself. It is both prison and playground, battlefield and sanctuary, a complex entity that shapes every twist of the story and every heartbeat of the characters trapped within its shadows. In Shadow Force 2025, the files that could burn nations represent the ultimate stakes, the incendiary secrets that hold the power to ignite global chaos or alter the balance of power forever. These files are not mere documents, they are a symbol of control, betrayal, and the devastating consequences of information in the modern shadow war, where truth is the most dangerous weapon. The film builds the mystique and menace of these files slowly, revealing through tense dialogue and furtive exchanges that they contain explosive evidence, hidden operations, covert alliances, and sinister plots that governments would kill to protect or expose. Their existence creates a silent war beneath the visible conflicts, with multiple factions racing to seize or destroy them, knowing that whoever controls this information wields unimaginable influence. Isaac and Kira find themselves caught in this deadly tug of war, their mission evolving from mere survival to a desperate quest to secure or neutralize the files. The files embody a moral crucible, forcing them to confront not only external enemies, but the ethical dilemmas of power and sacrifice. What is the cost of protecting truth when it can lead to war? Can secrets ever be safe, or are they destined to set fire to everything? The tension around the files drives much of the film's suspense. Clandestine meetings in dark rooms, high-speed chases, and coded exchanges all revolve around who holds these documents. Every scene involving the files is layered with paranoia and urgency, illustrating how knowledge, once revealed, can become a weapon more lethal than any gun. Beyond their political weight, the files symbolize personal stakes. They threaten to expose not only governments but individuals, including Isaac and Kira, whose pasts are entangled with the secrets locked inside. The fear of exposure adds layers of psychological pressure, turning the hunt for the files into a race against time and betrayal. The files that could burn nations also reflect on the fragility of peace in a world where information flows unchecked and loyalties shift like sand. The film asks provocative questions about transparency, trust, and the price of security, whether silence is complicity or protection, and who gets to decide what the world should know. In the climax, the fate of these files becomes a turning point, not just for the characters, but for the fragile geopolitical balance hanging in the balance. Their power is both a curse and a beacon, illuminating the shadows while threatening to consume everything in their fiery wake. In Shadow Force, these files are more than plot devices. They are a chilling reminder that in the modern age, knowledge is power, and power, when unleashed recklessly, can burn nations to ashes. In Shadow Force 2025, Viridian Unmasked marks a seismic shift in the narrative, a revelation that peels back layers of deception to expose the true identity and motives of the enigmatic antagonist known only as Viridian.
This moment is charged with tension, shock, and emotional upheaval, forever altering the landscape of trust and power within the story. For much of the film, Viridian remains a shadowy figure, a ghost behind the chaos, orchestrating events from the darkness with chilling precision. The mystery surrounding Viridian fuels paranoia and fear, embodying the unknown threat lurking just beyond the protagonist's reach.
When the mask finally falls, it is not just a physical unveiling, but a profound unmasking of truths long buried, political conspiracies, personal vendettas, and the complex motivations driving the antagonist's ruthless crusade. This unmasking shatters the assumptions held by Isaac, Kira, and the audience alike. Viridian is revealed to be far more than a faceless villain. Instead, they emerge as a deeply conflicted individual shaped by pain, betrayal, and a relentless desire for control. This complexity adds shades of gray to the narrative, blurring the line between hero and villain and forcing the protagonist to confront uncomfortable truths about their own roles in the cycle of violence. The revelation also ignites a personal reckoning, especially for Isaac, who finds connections between Viridian's identity and his own past, bonds tangled with betrayal, lost loyalty, and unfinished business. This connection raises the stakes beyond political intrigue to the deeply intimate, transforming the conflict into a battle not only for survival, but for redemption. Visually and emotionally, the unmasking scene is crafted to heighten the impact. Dark shadows give way to harsh light, revealing not just a face, but the consequences of a lifetime of secrets and lies. The tension is palpable, underscored by a haunting score that amplifies the shock and complexity of the moment. Viridian Unmasked also shifts the narrative's power dynamics. What was once a hunt for an elusive enemy becomes a confrontation with a tangible, deeply flawed human being whose motivations challenge the protagonist's understanding of justice, vengeance, and sacrifice. This revelation forces new alliances and new strategies, injecting fresh urgency and emotional depth into the story's climax. Ultimately, Viridian Unmasked is a pivotal turning point that redefines the narrative's moral landscape. It exposes the cost of secrets and the human faces behind grand conspiracies, reminding us that in the shadows, enemies and victims often share hauntingly similar scars. This unmasking transforms Shadow Force from a simple thriller into a profound exploration of identity, truth, and the blurred lines between darkness and light. In Shadow Force 2025, The Escape serves as a breathtaking and emotionally charged turning point where desperation collides with hope in a high stakes race for freedom. After being cornered by relentless enemies and betrayed from within, Isaac, Kira, and their son face seemingly insurmountable odds. This sequence captures not just a physical break from captivity, but a profound struggle to reclaim agency and survival in a world designed to trap them in darkness. The escape unfolds with pulse-pounding intensity, every second thick with tension as the characters navigate treacherous terrain, evade deadly ambushes, and outsmart foes who seem always one step behind. The stakes are more than life and death. It's about breaking free from a cycle of control and reclaiming their fractured family's future. The claustrophobic confines of captivity give way to open, dangerous landscapes, symbolizing the tenuous transition from imprisonment to uncertain freedom. Emotionally, the escape highlights the raw vulnerabilities and fierce determination of each character. Isaac's tactical brilliance is matched by Kira's resilience and fierce protective instinct, both driven by their son's safety. Their unity in this desperate flight reveals the core of their bond, trust forged through fire, fear, and unyielding love. But the escape is not just an adrenaline-fueled chase, it is a psychological journey. The characters confront their deepest fears, the fragility of freedom, the cost of survival, and the ghosts of past failures that haunt their every step. Each obstacle tests their resolve and forces painful sacrifices, underscoring the harsh truth that escape does not guarantee safety, only a chance to fight another day. The cinematography accentuates this tension with stark contrasts between shadow and light, narrow escapes through dark corridors, and explosive bursts of action that mirror the chaos within their minds. The sound design, heavy breaths, pounding footsteps, distant gunfire, immerses the audience in the frantic heartbeat of the moment. Symbolically, the escape represents hope in the face of overwhelming darkness. It is a reclaiming of identity and freedom that resonates deeply with the film's larger themes of trust, betrayal, and resilience. It asks, what does it truly mean to be free when the shadows are always lurking? And how far will one go to protect what matters most? In Shadow Force, the escape is a crucible of transformation, a moment where fear fuels courage and captivity births determination. It is both an end and a beginning, propelling the story into its final act with a renewed sense of urgency and emotional weight, reminding us that sometimes the greatest battles are fought not to survive, but to truly live. In Shadow Force 2025, A New Dawn symbolizes the fragile yet powerful emergence of hope and renewal after a nightmarish journey through darkness and betrayal. This moment in the story marks more than just the breaking of a literal day. It embodies the character's hard fought transformation and the possibility of rebuilding what was lost amid chaos. After surviving relentless battles, shattering betrayals, and devastating losses, Isaac, Kira, and their son stand at the threshold of a future that feels uncertain but full of promise. The dawn is both a literal and metaphorical awakening, illuminating the scars they carry and the strength they forged in the crucible of hardship. It reflects their growth, not only as fighters, but as a family striving to reclaim normalcy and peace in a fractured world. Visually, A New Dawn is crafted with sweeping imagery: golden light spilling over darkened landscapes, birds rising in flight, and quiet moments of calm after the storm. This imagery conveys renewal, but also the delicate balance between hope and lingering threats. The new day holds possibilities, but the shadows of the past still cling, reminding the audience that peace is a journey, not a destination. Emotionally, the characters wrestle with the cost of their survival. Joy is tempered by grief, hope shadowed by cautiousness. Isaac and Kira's bond is deepened, tempered by the trials endured, but strengthened by their unwavering commitment to protect their son and rebuild their lives. The dawn signifies a collective breath, a moment to pause, reflect, and prepare for what lies ahead. Thematically, A New Dawn highlights resilience and redemption. It asks profound questions. Can one truly escape the shadows of their past? What sacrifices are necessary to embrace a future unburdened by fear? And how does hope survive in a world defined by conflict? In Shadow Force, this new dawn is not an end to the darkness, but a testament to humanity's enduring spirit. A reminder that even after the deepest night, light finds a way to break through. It is a powerful, hopeful note that resonates long after the credits roll, leaving the audience with a sense of renewal and the timeless truth that from destruction comes rebirth. In Shadow Force 2025, the cost of survival delves into the brutal reality behind every victory and every breath taken in a world consumed by shadows. Survival is not free, it demands a relentless toll on the body, mind, and soul, and this theme resonates deeply through the character's journey, especially for Isaac, Kira, and their son. Throughout the film, the audience witnesses that survival is a complex, often agonizing choice rather than a simple outcome. Every decision to fight, flee, or sacrifice carries consequences, losses that cut deeper than physical wounds. The cost is etched in fractured relationships, haunted memories, and the ever present shadow of guilt. Each character bears scars, visible and invisible, reminding us that living through chaos often means losing pieces of oneself along the way. Isaac's struggle encapsulates this cost. His tactical brilliance and fierce protection come at the expense of emotional detachment, isolation, and moments of moral ambiguity. Kira's endurance is a testament to resilience, but it's also marked by exhaustion and the weight of bearing responsibility for their son's safety amid endless threats. Their son, caught in the crossfire, embodies innocence forever changed by a harsh reality. The cost of survival confronts the raw psychological fallout. how trauma alters identity, and the fragile line between survival instinct and humanity. The characters wrestle with painful questions. How much can they sacrifice before they lose who they are? Is survival worth the price of their souls? What does it mean to live when survival feels like a constant battle against oneself? Cinematically, this theme is expressed through haunting visuals, flickering shadows on weary faces, silent moments of despair amid chaos, and the contrast between fleeting safety and looming danger. The soundtrack underscores the tension with somber, melancholic tones that echo the emotional weight carried by the characters. This point also examines the societal cost of survival, reflecting on how entire communities and nations bear the scars of conflict and secrecy. It forces viewers to consider the invisible debts paid by those who fight unseen wars, and the collateral damage borne by innocents caught in the crossfire. In Shadow Force, the cost of survival is a sobering meditation on the price of existence in a fractured world. It strips away any romanticism of heroism, revealing survival as a raw, painful journey of endurance, sacrifice, and the unyielding will to live, even when the world around you burns. It challenges the audience to empathize with the burden carried by those who fight not for glory, but simply to see another dawn. In Shadow Force 2025, Kira's journey from a disciplined soldier to a hardened survivor stands as one of the film's most compelling and emotionally resonant arcs. Her evolution encapsulates the brutal transformation forced upon individuals caught in the relentless machinery of war, betrayal, and personal loss, revealing the resilience of the human spirit under extreme pressure. At the film's start, Kira is defined by her training, loyalty, and commitment to duty. She operates within a rigid structure, following orders with precision and purpose, her identity tightly bound to her role as a soldier. But as the plot unfolds and the shadows deepen, that structure begins to crumble. Betrayed by those she once trusted and thrust into a world where rules no longer apply, Kira must confront a harsh new reality where survival depends not only on skill, but on adaptability, instinct, and emotional endurance. Her transformation is gradual yet profound. Each encounter strips away layers of certainty and control, forcing her to navigate moral ambiguity, question allegiances, and reconcile the soldier she once was with the survivor she must become. This evolution is painful, marked by moments of doubt, loss, and fierce determination. It challenges her sense of identity and tests the limits of her strength. Kira's journey is also deeply personal. Beyond the battlefield, her role as a protector to her family, especially her son, fuels her transformation. The stakes become intensely human, grounding her survival not in abstract ideals but in love and sacrifice. Her growing independence and resilience underscore a powerful theme. Survival is not just about physical endurance, but about reclaiming agency and humanity amid chaos. Cinematically, Kira's evolution is reflected in the film's shifting visual language. Early scenes depict her in crisp military attire, rigid and controlled, while later moments show her worn, battle-scarred, and more fluid in movement, symbolizing the breakdown of old identities and the forging of a new self. The emotional intensity of her arc is mirrored in close-ups, capturing her internal struggle, juxtaposed with wide shots emphasizing her isolation and resilience. The evolution from soldier to survivor also critiques the cost of war on individual psyches, highlighting how trauma and betrayal reshape those who bear its weight. Kira's story is a testament to endurance, not just the physical ability to survive, but the emotional courage to adapt, fight, and ultimately find hope in the darkest moments. In Shadow Force, Kira's transformation embodies the heart of the narrative's human drama, a journey of loss, growth, and fierce determination that echoes far beyond the battlefield, reminding us that survival is both a test of strength and a triumph of the spirit. In Shadow Force 2025, the theme of trust as a fragile commodity weaves intricately through the narrative, revealing how trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to restore in a world riddled with deception, betrayal, and hidden agendas. Within this shadowed universe, trust becomes a rare and precious resource, constantly tested by paranoia, fear, and conflicting loyalties. The film explores trust not as a given, but as something earned, shattered, and painfully rebuilt, or sometimes lost forever. Isaac, Kira, and their allies must navigate a labyrinth of half truths and shifting alliances, where every gesture, every word, is scrutinized for hidden meanings. This precariousness elevates tension and injects uncertainty into even the most intimate relationships. The fragility of trust is most poignantly portrayed in the characters' interpersonal dynamics. Bonds once solid crumble under the weight of secrets and lies, forcing painful reckonings. Betrayal is not just a plot device but a corrosive force that eats away at the very foundation of connection. Characters grapple with the question: can they trust others without risking devastation, or must they isolate themselves to survive? Trust's fragility extends beyond personal relationships into the political and strategic arenas, where alliances shift like sand. Institutions that should be bastions of security become breeding grounds for suspicion and sabotage. The film masterfully uses this erosion of trust to heighten the stakes, showing how fragile alliances can topple entire plans and lives. Emotionally, this theme underscores the loneliness and vulnerability inherent in a world where trust is scarce. The characters' guarded interactions reveal their fears of betrayal and abandonment, deepening the emotional complexity of their struggles. Moments of tentative trust are rare and precious, shining like fragile beacons amid pervasive darkness. Visually and narratively, the film uses shadow and light to symbolize trust's tenuous nature, brief glimmers of connection quickly swallowed by looming doubt. The soundtrack's subtle, tense undertones amplify this atmosphere of unease, where trust could be weaponized or destroyed at any moment. Ultimately, Shadow Force portrays trust as both a lifeline and a battleground. It forces viewers to reflect on the delicate balance of human relationships under pressure and the profound consequences when trust is lost. In this fractured world, trust is not merely given, it must be guarded fiercely, for once broken, it may never fully heal. In Shadow Force 2025, the sun emerges as a profound moral compass amidst the chaos and darkness that engulf Isaac and Kira's lives. While the adults are embroiled in battles marked by deception, violence, and betrayal, the sun represents an untainted beacon of innocence, hope, and ethical clarity, a grounding force reminding everyone of what truly matters. Throughout the film, the son's perspective contrasts sharply with the shadowy world of espionage and conflict surrounding him. His innocence exposes the moral compromises and blurred lines that the adults navigate daily. Where others see enemies, power, or survival, the son instinctively recognizes simple truths: love, honesty, and justice. His presence humanizes the narrative, elevating the stakes beyond political games and tactical maneuvers to something deeply personal and universally relatable. He often serves as a silent witness to the consequences of the parents' decisions, his reactions a mirror reflecting the cost of their choices. His questions, fears, and moments of vulnerability evoke the emotional heart of the story, compelling Isaac and Kira and the audience to confront the ethical dimensions of their fight. The son's moral clarity challenges the adults to reevaluate their actions and strive for a future where integrity is not sacrificed for survival. Narratively, the son acts as a catalyst for character growth, inspiring moments of tenderness, reflection, and sacrifice. His unwavering trust and love become a source of strength, guiding Isaac and Kira through their darkest hours. His innocence is both fragile and powerful, symbolizing the possibility of redemption and the hope that a new generation can break free from the cycle of violence and mistrust. Cinematically, the son is often framed in light-filled scenes or quiet moments, visually reinforcing his role as the story's ethical beacon amid shadows and chaos. His interactions with his parents provide emotional anchors, grounding the film's high-stakes action in relatable human drama. In Shadow Force, the sun as the moral compass embodies the heart's unyielding truth in a world rife with ambiguity. He reminds us that amidst the darkest battles, it is the innocence and hope of the next generation that offers the clearest path to redemption, healing, and ultimately peace. In Shadow Force 2025, the theme of the emotional cost of espionage cuts deeply into the fabric of the narrative, exposing the unseen wounds inflicted on those who live lives cloaked in secrecy, deception, and constant danger. Espionage is portrayed not just as a thrilling game of strategy and stealth, but as a profoundly isolating and psychologically taxing existence that leaves lasting scars on the mind and heart. Isaac, Kira, and their comrades operate in a world where trust is fragile and betrayal lurks at every corner. This relentless tension forces them to compartmentalize their emotions, suppress vulnerability, and live double lives where personal relationships are sacrificed for mission success. The film explores how this emotional repression accumulates, leading to internal conflicts, loneliness, and an ever growing sense of alienation. The characters' personal sacrifices become painfully clear, missing milestones with loved ones, hiding true feelings, and constantly questioning loyalties wear down their spirits. The weight of lies told, even to themselves, creates cracks in their identities, fostering paranoia and self doubt. This emotional toll manifests in moments of breakdown, hesitation, and moral ambiguity, where the line between right and wrong blurs. Kira's transformation from soldier to survivor illustrates this cost vividly. Her emotional armor hardens, but underneath lies a reservoir of pain and loss. Isaac struggled with his past decisions, and the burden of protecting his family highlights the personal price paid for living in the shadows. Their son, too, suffers indirectly, growing up in an environment where trust is scarce and danger omnipresent, often shielded from harsh truths, yet inevitably affected by the tension that surrounds him. The film uses intimate close ups, subdued lighting, and haunting music to amplify these emotional undercurrents, allowing the audience to feel the characters' internal battles as viscerally as their external ones. Scenes of solitude and quiet reflection stand in stark contrast to explosive action sequences, underscoring that espionage is as much a war within as it is against external enemies. The emotional cost of espionage also raises broader questions about the human price of national security and covert operations. It challenges viewers to consider the invisible sacrifices made by those who protect society in secret and the collateral damage borne by their families and loved ones. In Shadow Force, espionage is not glamorized but laid bare in all its psychological complexity. The film presents a raw, honest portrayal of how living a life of deception and danger exacts a profound emotional toll, reminding us that behind every mission are human beings grappling with fear, loss, and the desperate hope for connection in a world built on secrets. In Shadow Force 2025, the duality of identity theme permeates every aspect of the story, delving into the complex psychological and emotional battle faced by those who live double lives. For characters like Isaac and Kira, the line between who they are and who they must pretend to be blurs constantly, forcing them to navigate a fractured sense of self in a world that demands both concealment and survival. The film explores this duality not merely as a spy trope, but as a deeply human condition, where the external mask and the internal truth often conflict violently. Isaac's outward persona as a calm, strategic leader contrasts sharply with the turmoil simmering beneath the surface: guilt, fear, and a desperate yearning for normalcy. Kira's identity shifts between a disciplined soldier, a fierce protector, and a vulnerable mother, each role demanding sacrifices that pull her in opposing directions. This fractured identity causes an internal conflict that impacts decisions, relationships, and even physical well being. Characters wrestle with moments of self doubt and alienation, questioning which self is the real one, their public facade or the private soul struggling for authenticity. This tension creates an emotional depth that grounds the high stakes action in relatable human experience. The film uses visual motifs, mirrors, shadows, reflections, to symbolize this duality,
reinforcing the idea that identity is layered, complex, and sometimes contradictory. Scenes where characters look at their reflections often coincide with moments of introspection or crisis, emphasizing their fractured inner worlds. Moreover, this duality extends to the moral ambiguity central to Shadow Force. The characters' divided identities complicate their sense of right and wrong, as survival often requires choices that betray their core values.
This internal schism heightens the stakes, making every action a negotiation between duty and conscience, mask and truth. The duality of identity also speaks to a universal struggle, the tension between the roles society demands and the authentic self within. It highlights the human cost of compartmentalizing life into conflicting parts and the emotional exhaustion that comes with living in constant disguise. In Shadow Force, this theme enriches the narrative by portraying identity not as fixed or simple, but as fluid, contested, and deeply fragile. It invites the audience to empathize with the characters' internal battles, reminding us that beneath every shadowed exterior lies a complex human story yearning to be understood and whole. In Shadow Force 2025, shadows are not merely a visual element, but a powerful storytelling device that amplifies the film's themes and emotional tone. The cinematic use of shadows transcends traditional lighting techniques, becoming a metaphor for the hidden truths, moral ambiguity, and psychological darkness that permeate the narrative. From the very first frame, shadows envelop the characters and settings, visually representing the secrets they keep and the danger lurking beneath the surface. The interplay of light and darkness is meticulously crafted to mirror the internal conflicts of Isaac, Kira, and others, where clarity is rare and uncertainty reigns. Dark alleyways, dimly lit rooms, and flickering silhouettes create an atmosphere thick with tension, symbolizing the thin line between safety and threat. Shadows also serve as a tool to conceal and reveal, guiding the audience's attention while maintaining an aura of mystery. Characters often emerge from darkness or vanish into it, reinforcing the espionage world's constant need for disguise and stealth. This use of chiaroscuro heightens suspense, making every moment feel charged with potential danger or betrayal. Emotionally, shadows reflect the character's psychological states. Moments of doubt, fear, or moral compromise are often bathed in shadow, visually externalizing their internal struggles. Conversely, brief encounters with light can symbolize hope, revelation, or clarity, but these are fleeting, underscoring how elusive truth and trust are in the film's world. The film's color palette and shadow design are deliberately muted and cold, enhancing the mood of isolation and paranoia. This stylistic choice draws viewers deeper into the characters' fractured realities, where light rarely penetrates and shadows dominate both physical and metaphorical landscapes. Beyond aesthetics, the cinematic use of shadows reinforces Shadow Force's core themes: identity, secrecy, and the duality of human nature. Shadows become characters themselves, silent witnesses to betrayal, guardians of secrets, and harbingers of unseen threats. In essence, the film's masterful use of shadows transforms every frame into a visual poem about concealment and revelation. It invites viewers to look beyond the obvious, to question what lurks unseen, and to experience the emotional weight of living a life where light and darkness are in constant, uneasy balance. In Shadow Force 2025, the chase sequences transcend mere adrenaline pumping action to become a rich metaphor for the characters' internal struggles and the relentless pursuit of truth, freedom, and redemption. The physical chase through crowded streets, dark alleys, and precarious rooftops mirrors the emotional and psychological battles that Isaac, Kira, and their son endure as they flee from danger and their own pasts. The chase embodies the constant tension between pursuit and escape that defines their existence. It reflects their desperate attempts to outrun not only external enemies, but also inner demons, guilt, betrayal, and fear that threaten to consume them. Every narrow escape and sudden obstacle symbolizes the precarious balance they must maintain between survival and surrender. Narratively, The chase sequences are carefully interwoven with character development. They reveal the endurance, ingenuity, and resilience needed to survive in a world where threats are ever present and trust is scarce. The frantic pace of the chase contrasts with quieter, introspective moments, emphasizing the dual rhythm of their lives. Bursts of chaos punctuated by fleeting moments of reflection. Symbolically, the chase also represents the pursuit of justice and truth in a landscape obscured by lies and deception. It is a relentless quest to expose hidden agendas and reclaim agency in a world designed to keep them powerless. The terrain they navigate, dark urban labyrinths and perilous heights, echoes the complexity and danger of their mission. Visually, the cinematography enhances this metaphor through dynamic camera work. Tracking shots, rapid cuts, and shifting perspectives immerse viewers in the urgency and disorientation of the chase. The interplay of light and shadow during these sequences deepens the metaphor, with characters slipping in and out of darkness as they race against time and fate. Ultimately, the chase in Shadow Force is far more than a physical pursuit. It is a profound symbol of the human condition under pressure. The endless struggle to confront fears, escape past mistakes, and find a path toward hope. It encapsulates the essence of survival and the unyielding drive to reclaim one's identity and freedom amid chaos. In Shadow Force 2025, the motif of fragmented memories plays a crucial role in shaping the emotional and narrative complexity of the film. The characters, especially Isaac and Kira, are haunted by shattered recollections of their pasts, memories broken into pieces by trauma, time, and the psychological toll of their covert lives. These fragmented memories become both a puzzle to solve and a barrier to self-understanding, reflecting the fractured nature of their identities and relationships. The film portrays memory not as a linear archive but as a mosaic, disjointed flashes, partial images, and blurred moments that resist full comprehension. This fragmentation symbolizes how trauma distorts reality and how the mind protects itself by hiding painful truths in shadowed recesses. Isaac's recollections of past missions, lost comrades, and family moments surface sporadically, sometimes triggering emotional overload or dangerous hesitation. Kira's memories